Okay, we're live. Good morning, Peg.
Good morning, Shell, and how are you this morning?
I'm okay. Looks like we've already got some people in the chat. We have Ian and Holly and Edwidge so far this morning. So hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about resist techniques, and I have a big list of all kinds of resist techniques that I'm going to try to make it through. And Peg has some other things, I think. I'm not sure what she's got because we really didn't have time to talk about it this morning. But it looks like she's got some taped down watercolor paper. So she's going to do something. I'm going to make card size pieces because I've got some watercolor paper that was already cut, and then I have some smooth cardstock, and I even have a piece of Yupo that I'm going to try to demonstrate with today. So what is a resist technique? Basically, it's using a substance to resist pigment that you apply on top of it and make a pattern. And I took a picture of all the different things that I got out today to do resist with. Plus, I've already got some of them that are already drying because some things require drying. And so I'm not even really sure where to start. Where are you going to start, Peg?
I don't know.
Well, you've got a taped down piece of paper, so it looks like you're going to do something. What do you got?
Well, it's all breaking up for me here. Can't hear you.
Just talk. Okay, looks like she can't understand me today. You've got problems with the sound. Isn't that lovely? Marie has joined us, and Sybil, and Fia, and SJ Mixed Media, who I still can't remember what your name is. Sorry. Sorry very much. Okay, so what I have started with and got drying so far, there's waxy, there's oily, and there's plasticky types of resists. And I started out with, this morning I went down this rabbit hole like you would not even believe what even happened. But I started out by doing some waxy ones, and I was using some beeswax to make a resist, and we'll do that later. This is the one that I made with watercolor paper and watercolor pigment, and using this Daddy Van's beeswax through a stencil. That worked great. We'll do it again in a bit. And then I thought, well, I know that Vaseline works, so I'm going to go get Vaseline and try that. But I couldn't find any Vaseline in the house, but I did find mentholatum. And so now I tried that, and my gear stencil smells like menthol, and so does my studio. So everyone here has nice cleared out sinuses, but that totally worked. And then I thought, well, what else do I have in my bathroom that could resist? And I tried drawing on this tag with lip balm and spraying it, and that totally worked. So that was one of the rabbit holes I went down this morning about 5 a.m. Then I decided that I could make all these pieces and try different media over the top. And these two are probably something very popular that you've seen before, and that is gloss gel medium and matte gel medium. Both of these are plasticky finish, and they will resist. And we'll put some watercolor media type things over there. But then I said to myself, well, the oldest resist is Frisket. And so I drew a picture using masking fluid, which is also called Frisket, that watercolorists use. And then I thought, well, what else? And I thought PVA glue works. So I drew a design, and I'm letting that dry. I thought, well, what about glossy accents and dimensional magic? So I drew that and let it dry. And then I went further than that. I got stickles, glitter glue, and some puffy paint, and drew that and let it dry. So those are all the resist techniques so far that I'm planning on working on. But I also have crayon resist and I've got embossing resist. So those are all the things I'm planning on doing. Oh, and then a stencil resist technique and my gel plate. Okay. How about you, Peg? Can you hear me yet?
Seat of my pants this morning. We'll see how this goes. I am just wanting to say hello to everybody. We have 13 watching currently, and we appreciate you for having joined us. I'm kind of going to take everything covered so I don't have to worry about all those different resist techniques. You know, I got a few things out, but I wasn't too worried about it. Got some different powders and things, and I'm just got out was I got some paper tape out. This is just the cheap stuff that you get at the dollar store, and one of the things just torn pieces of tape, because resist basically is masking, and you're masking off an area to preserve what's underneath. So what I'm doing with this tape is I'm preserving the underside of this particular, like a crackle, or what do you call it, broken glass, something like that, stained glass maybe, effect when you take these pieces of tape and block off an area of your paper. So the trying to see where shall it's going to be one of those difficult mornings, so bear with us, guys. I'm so sorry. You know, you go into the green room and you think technologically everything's looking good, but we had some real strange stuff this morning. I was calling 911 for no reason, and didn't even know I was doing it. So there's some gremlins out here, folks. So what you came here for, which is entertainment, not worrying about technology. Right, Shell?
Absolutely. I would like to not worry about technology also. Can you hear me yet?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, the first thing, since the oldest type of resist that I can possibly think of is to use Frisket. It's been around, you know, forever. With watercolor people, they've been using it, and it's basically a sticky. Oh, you know which one else I forgot? Man, that just went. See, here I am going down. Oh, look, a squirrel. Another one that works really great is rubber cement. And I didn't think of that this morning either. But rubber cement will make a resist as well. And it's kind of what Frisket is like. It's rubbery and sticky, and you know, it has to be rubbed off when you're done. But basically, you can just do a watercolor right over the top of it, and it works great. So that's what I started with, is just some flowers that I had drawn with. I have it in a fine liner bottle. I also have a fine liner applicator, and I'm just going over this with some standard watercolor. This is made by Kai, I think. You know, just watercolor. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry and move on to something else. I'm getting a little bit out of the lines, but it doesn't really matter because I have Frisket on there.
Yes, you do.
So it'll look cool. It'll look cool in the end. You don't have to be so fussy.
This. So let's see. What's everybody saying here this morning? They're all saying hello, hello, hello.
A couple of people identified themselves. SJ Mixed Media said her name is Sonia, or SJ.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else said their name too.
Well, there's a
I have
lot
someone
more
here named
joint.
Freedom Deep that I don't know her name, her or he, what their name is either.
Okay. So,
Janice is here.
yeah, Barb, a lot of these things need time to dry. Barb's saying Frisket needs time to dry before you paint. Yeah, that's why Shell went ahead and did all this stuff in advance. Like I said, I'm flying misdiagnosed, so don't get freaked out.
Have you been misdiagnosed?
Okay, so I have some goosebump spray too. You know, I'll try to remember to put a link in the video description, but I did a video right after CHA because people were talking about the Tim Holtz Distress Resist. And I thought back to my days of Goosebumps, which to me was the same thing. When you looked at the bottle, it was this milk. And I thought, well, we ought to be able to replicate that. And so I did a video, and what I did was I used some dimensional adhesive with some water in a spray bottle. And yes, indeed, it does work as a resist. So my piece, this Goosebumps, and this is like a raised shimmer texture spray, but it gives that same sort of effect. So I'm just gonna, if I can get this to come out, I probably haven't cleaned my bottle. Oh, but it shakes out real well. So let me just shake some of that out on there. The effect here. We'll let that dry. That's bizarre.
Man, Peg, you're breaking up too. This is terrible. We need to figure out how this works.
I wonder if it's breaking up on the other end.
I don't know. Can you all hear us fine? Is it just between the two of us? Or does everyone have this problem? I guess we'll wait for them to answer. Or do you want me to talk now?
Go ahead.
Or are you going to spray? You're going to spray. Okay, go.
Go ahead.
I don't know. This is not working with us not being able to hear each other. On my desk, I have the matte gel medium and the gloss gel medium that I had put on this morning and let dry. And now I'm just using some powdered pigments. I've sprayed them with water, and now I'm using some powdered pigments. And you can see this is probably the best description of it is how much this resists. And this would be a plastic resist kind of situation. But you can see when I put water on there that wherever the medium was placed, which was through a stencil, by the way, I don't know if I said that either. I'm kind of scattered this morning. That it just comes right off of it. And that's a true resist right there, if I've ever seen one. Go back over to Peg. I don't see anything going on over there. So these water-based crystals are two different brands. And then I even have some shimmery ones from my friend in the UK that we can put on. These are called, I think, pixie powders. She sent them to me. Come on, come out. There we go. Put some of that on there too. A little more water. I'm making quite a puddle. We're going to let those dry. Oh, Peg is muted. Do you mean to be muted? I don't know. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'm just gonna go. I don't know. Peg will tell me. She'll indicate when she's ready. I'm gonna set these aside to dry. You can certainly see how much that plastic really resists. So depending on what type of a thing you do, it will make a difference as to your result. And I think that the best resists come from the plasticky stuff. So I have some other plasticky options here. My watercolor's still drying, but I have got this Dimensional Magic from Mod Podge. I always want to say Mod Podge on some silver cardstock. And then I have some mixed media glue on some watercolor paper. And then this one is Stickles and Puff Paint, fabric paint. So let's find out what happens when we do some water medium over this. So I'll just get my watercolors back out. Peg, are you back?
I hope so, Shell. I've just rebooted and changed all my equipment out, and if this doesn't work, I have no idea.
You know, I don't have any idea either. This one I think I'm going to do acrylic paint. What the heck? Oh my gosh. Apparently I got some of that powder on these and didn't even notice. That powder gets everywhere.
Yeah,
it got
it
on
does.
my watercolor too. Look
Oh,
at that.
wow.
Speckles.
Well, that ought to make a beautiful rainbow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. So it's one of those days. I did tell you guys about my phone doing hinky stuff this morning, right? So I'm sitting here talking to Shell. We're getting set up, and all of a sudden, off in the distance, I'm hearing this. This is 911. What's your emergency? It's like, what? What's going on?
There's no emergency here. What are you people talking about?
There's nothing going on. What? Who's calling what? I didn't call anybody. It's like, oh my gosh. So you want to know why I'm kind of freaking? I don't have an emergency.
This totally
so
works.
I was afraid the cops were coming to get me.
You might still hear from them.
Yeah,
you know, they don't like it when people call 911 and there's no emergency.
Well, I don't know if it was because my stuff was sitting too close to my hot iron or what.
I don't even know.
I'm telling you guys, some days are just too freaky, right?
Yeah, this morning
it's still coming. Yay! I'm glad people are joining. Sybil's here, Holly's here, Maria, Cindy, Janice, just a bunch of folks that we know. Glad, Barb, hi. Glad you guys are all here. I'm going to do a resist with, I'm going to use some Versamark, number 1, through a stencil to start with, and then I will do some because some embossing. Why not? Okay. Just because I can. So I've got this Seth After stencil, and I was looking for my clear embossing powder this morning. Couldn't lay my hands on that. Can you tell what kind of day I've had already? I should just oh man. So anyway, I'm glad I'm amongst friends, because otherwise people would think I was totally weird. Well, they probably think I'm totally weird anyway. So because I couldn't find my clear, I have this so I may try to remove some of that later. So I've got that down. I'm going to heat set it, and I will use my quiet gun, so maybe it won't disturb everybody, because I don't want to turn anything off now that it's working. Right?
Right. So for this little experiment that I had this morning, remember I said I used the PVA glue from iCraft, and look at how beautiful it turned out. Beautiful. Completely resisted. And then on this side I have Stickles glitter glue and puff paint. And I put the same, this is watercolor paper, and I put the same water on there. And what I did notice, strangely, I've never noticed this before, but some of the glitter came off on my brush as I was going over it. See? I don't know if you can see. So I don't think, I mean, Stickles worked, but I don't think it's the best choice. But the puff paint obviously worked well, and that is exactly what I expected. So
Interesting.
That was those two experiments. We'll put those aside to dry.
And I'm going to grab another piece of paper, I'm embossing, and do a rubber stamped image with Versamark.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's one of my favorite stamps in the whole world.
This one? You
Love
do like
that.
Harlequin, don't you?
I do. Is that the Stampin' Up one? Looks like it.
Had.
Well, darn it, my little watercolor has blue speckles all over it. It's not at all what I want. So since she's working on the embossing one, I will do that too, because I also have a plan for that. But I learned something that I want to try, and I haven't tried it yet. But I have Versamark. I have smooth cardstock, and I've already embossed one of them with white, and then I'm going to emboss the other one with clear. So I couldn't hear, you broke up. What powder did you say you were going to use, clear or white?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're still breaking up for me, Shell.
Well, she has the big bucket,
Days.
so embossing powder. So nice.
And it's not like we haven't invested in 6 different sound systems so that this will work.
Yeah.
Thank you, YouTube, for being free.
I think I'm going to need to go back to headphones. Maybe. Well, she's drying. I can hear that. Okay, so on my Bristol cardstock, I am stamping a floral scene with Versamark. And I wanted to, I already have embossed this one with white. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I wanted to also do one in clear to see the difference between the two, to see if there is a difference between the two. So I'm basically making exactly the same scene that I made before, and just going to emboss this one with clear powder instead of white. Where's my little stem? So you guys will notice a lot of my stamps are old. What are you laughing about?
And when the cops call. I love having a supportive group. You guys are in my corner. Yay. Can I call you from the jailhouse? Oh, man. Hey, Nikki, good morning. Oh, Peggy, I love you too. Yep, Harlequin. We're all into Harlequin, right?
Oh, Harlequin's awesome.
Let's see, I'm going to use some of those gosh awful powders that go everywhere on my Harlequin.
Awesome.
And I'm going to use the Magenta Nuance. These are, I've got the ones from, who is it? Yeah, the ones in little bottles with the poof. Who is that guy? I'm having a brain
Ken
fog
Oliver.
morning.
Ken
Oliver. Yeah, I've got Ken Oliver stuff, but I have trouble getting that to go where I want it to go. So I do better with the shaker method, but everybody to his own choice, right? So I'm just going to sprinkle a little of that down. Da-de-da-de-da. And I think I want some brights. So I'm using some very bright colors. We'll see what we get. And then I will spritz that with water. Somewhere here I have a spritzer on my tabletop. Yep, okay, I'll spritz that. Color moving. And I'm just going to take my rag and blot. And I'm going to set that aside to dry while I do the other one, which is this one that I embossed. And for this, I'm just going to use some, let's see, I think I'll use some Delusion spray because I have these things and probably need to use them up. So this is Dirty Martini. And this one is Vibrant Turquoise. And this one is Poison Jade. Oh, good. And I'm just going to set that aside because I can use that in another piece of art someplace. Throw that aside. And then I also have some other pieces. This is nail polish, and this one is, I got this cheap molding paste at a secondhand store for $2. So I thought, well, I'll use some of that because I can. So let's set these aside to dry, and I'll grab I had some, here we go. I've got some of these media scribble sticks. So I'm going to put some scribbles on here. Now these are water soluble. But I'm going to add, let's see, let's add some ink. So I'm just going to put some, let's see, here, seedless preserves, distress aqua, and what other color? Let's get something wild. Let's get something, let's do raspberry. No, that's too close to the color. I want something to contrast. Let's do a little peacock with that. And I'm going to spritz that with water. And I'm actually going to stir it up a little bit. And take my fingernail polish piece and just dip in. And this is just some stuff I probably got from the dollar store. You know me. If it's at the dollar store, I'll use it. So I've got a little of that. I also want a little bit of this green in there. So let me dry that. Oh, YouTube gremlins this morning. What's going on, Ian? Hi, Jules. Maybe you're just talking about my gremlins this morning. Yeah, I did have gremlins this morning. So let me squirt this with just a little bit of the green. And some more water. And you can see what's happening here on top of the nail polish is bubbling up. So that's going to be an area that's resisting. Baby wipe and wipe that area clean. Like so. And now I've got green all over my desk. So you see how that came right up. All right, let's go back to our pieces that we're drying. And I have my iron that's been heating. And what I like to use is I have a little mini cut and press mat here. And because I have that embossing powder down, I'm going to take some, this is like newsprint paper, and I'm going to sandwich this in between my newsprint. Embossing powder you'll start to see coming up on my newsprint, because the newsprint should pick it up if I got my mouth. It's starting to come. So what happens is you can see where the image is transferring over here, and you know this is cool too, but I'm going to shape because this excess glitter to clean spotting that embossing powder so that it's not going to have that raised emboss there anymore. It's going to be flat, and people are going to say, well, how did you get that effect? How'd you get? Well, it's because you have removed You guys see this? It's because you have removed the embossing powder, so now it's a smooth surface. Okay. So here's another piece that needs ironing because it's still wet. So I'm going to come back to my pressing mat and iron that. And this is kind of what I was thinking about when the whole thing came up last week when we were talking about batik. They do that with wax resist, and Shell, I think, is going to show you some waxy products that can be used. But this is how I like to get a batik effect. Okay. How you doing, Shell? You ready?
I am. I
Okay.
actually finished one of them while you were talking.
Okay, go for it.
So this one was embossed with clear. I just embossed it with clear. And then I just now use my applicator and some distressed inks on there. And you can see that the area that was embossed has remained white. So now you have like a white drawing on a colorful background. And then on this one, I've already embossed it with white, but I'm going to use the distressed oxide inks instead. Because I saw something cool and I want to try it. So I'm going to start with the lightest color and apply it real heavily onto my background here. It's got to go on there thick. You know, usually you're just kind of like getting this stuff wet and then you get your effects from that. But this is a little bit different, but it turned out really cool, so I want to try it. And I'm just using some
You know what,
coordinating
Shell?
colors.
I'm just going to go into the audience.
Okay, if you want to.
And I'll have the show if that's okay.
All right.
Are you good with that? Because they're not getting what.
All right.
All right, guys.
Peg can answer questions in the audience since her YouTube ain't working. And I guess mine is for some reason. So the colors I have for distressed ink are Spiced Marmalade, Candied Apple. I think I want that on that even thicker. And Fired Brick. And I'm just going to blend these onto this background. This is a smooth cardstock like a Bristol. It's the Nina one. Solar White from Nina. Apparently I have green goop on my hands, which I just got on my card. That's lovely. I don't even know what it is. So here's the darkest color. We'll get this on here. Make sure it's just real heavy, thick and heavy for this. And well blended. Have this little bee up in the corner that I want to highlight as much as I can. And I'm kind of putting my back into this. Let's go get some more orange. Some of that in there. So the distress oxide is going on to my white because it is, you know, a half pigment, half dye-based product. But you can wipe it off. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to buff it and I'm going to clean off my resist areas here. I wish they don't have that big green blob. So then the next thing to do is to try to mess around with some water because, you know, when water goes onto distress oxide, it oxidizes it. Apparently that water brush is clogged. I clog my water brushes all the time because I use them with stuff besides water. And it gets in them. But like you guys know, if you've used distress oxides at all, they turn whitish wherever water's hit. So you can go over these areas where you've applied the flowers and basically color. And by coloring, you're removing or you're oxidizing the area. And then if you want to, after you've done that, you can come back in with a different color and give it a little bit of color inside there. So I just thought that was cool and I wanted to try it. And I do think it's a resist technique because you're using the embossing powder to resist. So it's not quite dry, but you can see the effect. Isn't that cool? I think it is. So how are you guys doing out there? I can't really look at the chat and do this alone. That's the reason that we do it as a pair. So that's my two embossing ones. This one is clear and this one is white resist. And to go back through my other ones that are now dry, this is probably the coolest thing ever. And I think if I took a wet wipe and just even wiped it a little bit, those would pop out even brighter. Nope, they're about as good as they're going to get. But some of that does come off though, which might save your fingers. Because these things will stain your fingers, these powders. So those are pretty awesome. And then these other two are done, it looks like. And this was the PVA or whatever type of glue, and this one was the fabric and the glitter. And they both turned out great. So let's move on to some other techniques. Trying to clean up some of this powder and distress ink everywhere. Okay. So this is watercolor paper, and this is beeswax. The reason that I have this is furniture polish, and I never polish my furniture, ever. But this is great if you have an art journal that is sticking together because you've used acrylic, and it just keeps sticking together and you get mad, then you can put this on the pages and it seals them and stops them from sticking. So that's the reason that I have it. But it also, because it's a waxy product, will do a resist. So I'm just putting a stencil over my watercolor paper, and I'm just going over the stencil with this waxy stuff. And it actually smells really good. This particular brand smells so good. And this is the unscented, but yet it still smells good. So I don't know. I guess unscented beeswax smells good. Not sure why. So I just kind of rubbed it into the paper. And my stencil probably wasn't 100% clean because they never are. So I'm getting a little bit of patterning on there. Let's see. And I want to clean up any excess. And this will sink into the paper, so I'm not too concerned about that. I also somehow managed to get glitter on there. Don't even ask me. I don't know how. But for our resist, let's do some of the standard techniques we're used to, like distress ink on your craft mat. And a little bit of water. And a little bit of smush. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's nice. How easy is that? Beeswax resist. Kind of fun. Oh, sacrilege. I'm wasting. I've just cleaned up that distressing. So then this one was earlier. This one was with the Dimensional Magic, which is like glossy accents on the Mod Podge brand. Let's find out what happens when we put some spray on that. Let's see, let's get some bright colors. This is Glimmer Mist from That's interesting. My sprayer's kind of strange on that one. This is a metallic cardstock, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it alone has kind of its own resist situation because it's kind of got a finish on it, but this seems to be working great. Maybe a little bit more purple. So I don't think there's any doubt that that will resist. It reminds me of something that I watch on TV and I can't think of what it is, but it'll come to me in a minute. Oh, I know what it is. It's the Forged in Fire show. Will this cut? Your sword will cut. Will this resist? Your cardstock will resist. So let's let that dry. Well, let's try to clean up the mess slightly so we don't make a bigger mess. It's probably going to happen anyway, but all right. So I know another one that we can do, and this one was fun. And I think this is also a resist technique, although you guys might argue that it isn't. But if you have Yupo paper, this is a plasticky paper, and you have a stencil, you can make a stencil resist. And I did try it on other papers at some point, but I can't remember what the results were, so I can't really tell you right now. Here's some alcohol ink. Here's a stencil. Here's Yupo paper. And I'm just going to start with some pink. And I'm just going to kind of dab around, just not dropping, but just kind of dabbing. As you know, if you use alcohol ink on Yupo paper, it blooms. It makes little circles. But under a stencil, it does something different. So you get the idea. You're just dabbing on some color. Trying to fill in all the little spots on the stencil. This stencil has a lot of spots. Anyway, I think I'm going to put a little bit more of that pink on there. So this technique requires drying time, and you can't do it with a heat tool. So I already have one that I've done earlier by the magic of television. This one's kind of stuck to the paper. So you can see now that this is dry, that the paper is stuck to the stencil. But when you pull it off, you get this really cool effect. And I would call that a stencil resist. I don't know about you guys. Isn't that cool? I think it is. This is kind of still a little bit wet underneath. So I'm going to get some patterning going on here. I'll use that later. It's kind of sticky. What else? Oh, crayon resist. So what if you wanted to do crayon resist and you wanted to do it on your gel plate? This is packaging board. And these are crayons. And if you like stencils, you can certainly use a stencil with this idea. And you can take your crayon and draw around your stencil. I'm going a little bit crazy. Make sure that you get a good amount of crayon on there, because what crayon is wax. And so you're basically making a resist with wax once again. So like I said, we have oily ones, we have waxy ones, and we have plasticky ones, basically. You can also do this with pastels, with oil pastels, which say that they're oil, but in reality, I think they're more waxy. Know what you guys think? So I'm pressing pretty hard to make sure that I get a lot of wax on there in this pattern. And just to make it interesting, I'll get out my some of my pastels here and just do some little doodlies inside. Something quick. So now I can take my 6x6 gel plate, which just happens to be on my desk considering I've been gel printing every single day. And we'll take some color that you can see. How about blue? Ew. This is just acrylic paint, so you can do resist techniques with acrylic paint also. Everything else that I've done previous to this point has been water-based media, but you can do it with acrylic too. It just has a few other parameters that you might not notice. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it on here. Pull it off. And then I'll take some paper. And there you have the basic resist. You can also use this piece as well and just wipe it off. Oh, I forgot about you. And if you wipe it off right away, you can get that acrylic off it and you can actually use it again. So it can become one of your arsenals of your printing tools. So you can get this if you just did it on regular paper. And you could also pull this print because there's still some paint on there with a lighter color. Ew. Yuck. I got yuck on there. Trying to go quickly here, and I'm getting stuff all over my brayer. So there's your ghost. So you get basically 3 things from doing crayon resist on your gel plate. And you can absolutely also do crayon resist on watercolor paper or Bristol, whichever paper you happen to want to use. I'm going to need something to cover this up. So for this technique, I think that you should use a white crayon. What did I do with the crayons? Oh, there they are. Unless you want the crayon to show. But if you don't want the crayon to show, you can use the white crayon if you can get it out of the box. So let's just make some type of real simple something here just to demonstrate the technique. And it's hard to see. I know it's hard to see because it's white on white. And by the way, this will absolutely work on fabric because I tried it, so I know. So let's get out some watercolors. Or, well, let's get out some, no, I already did spray. What else? What haven't I done yet? I don't know. Just do some watercolor. How about blue? Ta-da! Let's get a little purple in there. So that totally works. Yes, Ian is saying in the chat that you can get clear crayons, and that's true. You actually will get them in your Easter kit. If you dye Easter eggs, they give you those clear crayons for free. Those work great. And you could use a candle if you wanted to. So this is the result of the spray over the glimmer mist spray over the metallic with the dimensional magic. I think that turned out really nice. Can you see how shimmery it is now that it's dry? I don't know if you can. And we never did remove the frisket, so let's do that. Here's the one that I drew a picture using the fine line frisket, this stuff. And then I watercolored over it. And now you can take a frisket remover or a rubber cement remover or whatever you want to call this and just pull that stuff off. See, it's just rubbery stuff. comes off pretty quickly if you use one of these. And that is your real classic original resist, I think, historically. So is there anything I didn't do? Is there anything you guys want me to do that I didn't do? I didn't use any of these glossy mediums, but I'm pretty sure that they would work. I didn't show you guys the mentholatum, but I mean, another type of wax crayon that you can use is a China marker. If you don't have these, but you have this, you can use a China marker to do crayon resist as well. So what I'm going to do with all these is I'm going to make them into cards. So I just have some card bases that I'm going to stick these on. So like this one on top of this one, on top of this one. Pretty? So is anyone wanting to see anything else? Peggy says a spirograph design would look cool. That would.
Looking cool, Shell.
Oh, thanks. You're back?
Well, I'm just bringing in the sound. I'm not bringing in the video to see what happens, you know, if the sound is just on, because it seems like the most issues we're having are with the sound.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I think I'm going to do another miscellaneous, you know, this stuff one.
yeah.
Oh, I know what I can do. Okay, I got an idea. It never stops. It never ends. My brain never stops thinking.
Right. But you
So
know,
this
you
will be the same
have
as
a
last
whole lot of fun with resist techniques. And just, you know, think about all the stuff that you have around the house. You know, you don't have to go out and buy something. Just think about what do I have that would work as a resist? You know, like I said, I've got dollar store tape, I've got embossing powder, I've got all these different mediums. You know, use some gesso. Gesso resist is a lot of fun.
Oh, that was on my list. I
Yeah.
didn't do that yet. I'll do that next because we still have time, right? Yeah, we still got a half hour to kill.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, tell me, is the sound working okay for you now? Just like to know where the issues are. I know that YouTube is making a whole bunch of changes again. Okay, good. Thank you, Peggy. One of the things that they're doing this week is with the chat. Now they're making it so that you can see the chat afterwards, so that if you're in here and you're chatting, people can go back and see what the chat said, where previously when you had a video, that didn't work. So that may have a lot to do with the sound issues today. I don't know. It's just a speculation.
We've been having these sound issues between the two of us, though, for a while. It just seems to have gotten worse.
Yeah. Well, and they keep changing everything. Every week we go in, it's something else. So it's like you don't know what they're playing with this week, and you just kind of roll with the punches and do what you can.
Yep. Because it's free and we can't complain.
Right. Okay, so everybody's saying the sound is good now. I don't get it.
It must be some kind of conflict between the sound and the video, I guess.
Well, I took all of the peripheral devices off. I'm just using my computer. And that's kind of what you had to do before, remember? Because you're just using your computer now,
I'm using
right?
the microphone on my camera at this point.
Right.
The other one works.
So all my peripheral microphones, all my headsets, all my, you know, I've tried everything else today and nothing worked. I'm just on my laptop.
Yeah. So there's another mentholadium one.
Okay, cool.
With spray.
Oh,
I think that this may never dry though, and I'm just gonna look at these.
the
No,
mentholatum.
that one's pretty. I
But
think the mentholatum and the chapstick, I think what I'll need to do is put a layer of sealer over them, or else put some embossing powder on it, because it still feels kind of gooey.
did you buff it?
I didn't, not yet.
Try buffing it, because some of that'll come off on a rag. It's just like when yeah, try buffing it. And then whatever is left, you might try ironing out like I was doing with the embossing powder.
Oh, that will make the whole house smell nice when I heat this mentholatum.
Right, because when you put the
Yeah,
paper
it
over
does
the
smell
top,
better.
it'll soak into the additional piece of paper.
This one not so smooth. This is where I just scribbled on the lip balm. The other one was I was thinking with all the health nut people now, we all have coconut oil.
Oh yeah,
thick coconut oil. I think that would work.
Yep.
Yeah. This one with the beeswax doesn't have any greasy feeling at all. The furniture polish one.
Yeah.
All right, let's try gesso. I've got terrible fingers. Everything's gross.
Yeah, I've got spray everywhere on my desk. And I've been scrambling, plugging and unplugging, so it's kind of a disaster area.
All right, let's try this. Blah. Did you try your snowball microphone today?
No, because that was the worst the last couple times we tried it.
Maybe it works now.
It's possible, I'll tell you. Anything's possible with this, right?
Yeah, I'm baffled as to what the whole situation's problem is today and tomorrow, and then next week it'll all be different.
Yep.
All right, what sort of medium shall I put over this?
Let's poll the audience.
Poll the audience. What do you guys want to see over this? I've got distressing, I've got brush shows and color bursts, I've got regular watercolor. What do they say? Anybody say anything? Hila says brusho. All right, we'll go with brusho. I'm gonna get my other ones out of the way though, because last time I got sprinkles all over everything. Get that little bit spritzy going on there. And let's try Scarlet. And a little bit of orange. This is watercolor paper, so it will absorb some, like it does.
I now
How
have
about
the
some yellow?
blue snowball plugged in. How's the sound, guys?
Oh, that sounds great to me.
Well, that's good news because I really thought that was supposed to be the best microphone.
Well, if it is, I'll have to buy one because I don't have one.
Nikki says it sounds good. So, yay. Maybe it'll work again.
Well, it worked before, then it stopped. I don't know.
I know. I don't get it. Oh, my.
So gesso resist is a much more subtle look. I'm gonna a little bit more red on there. My hands are never gonna come clean, ever.
Yeah, this stuff is messy.
Yeah. It's stained for life. Let's try a different gesso because I didn't really like that. Let's try heavy gesso. Where's my heavy gesso?
Okay, I'm bringing my camera back on board and we'll see if we get anything now.
Okay. Now it's stuck to the paper.
You guys have been a lot of help to me today. I appreciate it when you let us know if something's working or not, because we have no idea. We're just out here playing away and yeah, making a mess. Okay.
All right, I'm trying the heavy gesso now. I think it might have more of a resist effect than the other gesso that's kind of a puny gesso that I have. Is your camera back?
It's on. Let's see if we get anything. You getting anything?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So maybe this will work now. I don't know. I got some Yupo out. Yeah, we have you, Peg. Woohoo! And let's see, what do I want to use with my Yupo? Let's do, I'm going to use some of this media scribble stick on there. And I've got a, let's see, let's grab a stencil. Should have something here. I'm going to try just scribbling through a stencil. And this is on the Yupo. I'm just playing now.
Good plan. We've got like 15 minutes left.
I can see that there's a little something there. So I'm going to grab a piece of plastic. And let's see, do I have some alcohol inks? I do. I have some alcohol inks. There's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Although I should probably put some gloves on because my hands are already a mess from the watercolor stuff. Oh my goodness.
Well, then it's too late. So why bother putting the gloves on?
Because this is alcohol. I've been wearing alcohol for a week. I did that make and take over in Rockford. I had red alcohol ink on me for a week. I'm not kidding you. And I used the scrubby. I used everything I could. So, you know what it's doing with the, I think it's there.
It looks like it might be the opposite of a resist.
It's getting darker.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, that's cool too.
I'm going to put some other colors on here. And yeah, you know, like I said, this is just play. We just do this and figure out what's going to happen. Because, you know, a lot of what happens in art is all experimentation. You know, you do something and it's like, oh, I like that effect. Let's try this now. So, okay, I got some blending solution and I've got some alcohol here somewhere. What's that? That's water. Here's some alcohol. Let's sprinkle a little alcohol. See what happens. I'm just going to take a piece of paper to get the excess. Ooh, that's kind of cool, just like that. That looks like a tree, like in the forest. Now, can you see that? It looks like tree.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a misty morning.
Yeah.
So shall we see what happens with the super heavy gesso?
Why, yes. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
But you can kind of see just a little bit in the background where the scribble stick was. It got darker. Interesting.
I think that's very interesting, and I think I would want to explore that more. All right. Let's see. So I did one of my favorite dot stencils, and we'll try some brush on this to compare apples to apples. What happened with the other gesso I have, which is the Liquitex Basics gesso, versus the Liquitex Super Heavy. Yeah, the Super Heavy is better. It has more texture. I'm still not sure it's really resisting as much as I expected, though, but it's making a really cool effect.
Cool.
And then one other rabbit hole that I wanted to show you guys that I went down this morning. Yeah, so here's the Super Heavy versus the Liquitex Basics. There's some differences. But when I was preparing the alcohol ink sample this morning with the stencil, this one, I said to myself, well, you know, I really don't have very many colors of alcohol ink. What would happen if I used Yupo with StazOn refill? It's not really an alcohol ink.
It's a
But
solvent.
it's kind of like that. And this is the result. And when I put the stencil on and then I started to dot the StazOn, it didn't spread. And so I sprayed it with 91% alcohol. and then just kind of daubed. So it's not exactly the same, but it's a similar look. And it's dry now, so it'll be permanent on there.
Cool.
And then we can finish up with this last one that I did earlier. Pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think I'm done. You can just finish up the last 10 minutes if you want.
Well, I'm just
I'll put
playing
together
with
a card.
alcohol inks now. Have you guys all seen that? They call it an alcohol resist technique, but I'm not sure why they're calling it a resist technique. I think it's just because the alcohol moves or gets picked up. And what they do is they use an archival ink. You know, now that she's talking about using the stays on, let's use the archival on some of this alcohol ink, and I'll show you what happens with that. I need a paper towel, though, because you're going to lift using the paper towel. And I need a stamp. Let's see, what do I have here? Oh, let's just do this Harlequin, because that's what I had out, right?
And besides, it's awesome.
So I'm going to clean off whatever ink was on there from previously. And I'm going to ink that up with the archival. And actually, I think I'm not going to use the black. I think I'm going to use the watering can because it's lighter.
Oh, are you doing that thing? Oh, okay. I tried that out.
Did ya?
Yeah, I saw it at Creativation. But
Okay.
with the archivals, all I got was very, very pale effects.
So I'm going to stamp that onto the alcohol ink. And you can see it's sitting there. It's sitting there on the surface. And what you want to do is just lift the ink a little bit.
Oh, no, that's not what I said.
Wet, and then you just rub. And it removes.
That's super cool.
Okay. So this is the effect.
So you started UPO, right?
I started, yeah, this is UPO. This is UPO
And you
paper.
put alcohol on it.
I put alcohol on the background. Okay.
Okay.
And then I used the archival. This one actually was the archival watering can. And I stamped this image. And then you blot, you know, to get anything that's really wet, because you don't want to smear that across your surface.
Right.
You want to get it while it's still wet, but you don't want to smear it, you know.
So what condition was the alcohol ink in when was it dry?
Relatively, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's still got some little bit wet spots, but that's okay because I like this crackling and
yeah,
you know, all that textural stuff that you get in there.
Awesome.
So anyway, so I did get something done today, right?
You taught me. I've never done that. What she was demonstrating at Creativation with the archival ink was using it with alcohol and making like washes, kind of.
Well, you can do the same thing on the clear transparency. Let me grab a piece of transparency. Here's a not very clean transparency. And let me get these scribble sticks out of the way. Like if you're putting, let's grab some alcohol ink. Okay, so I'm just going to get some alcohol inks down here on the transparency. Okay. And they'll dry relatively quickly. You know, you don't have to worry too much. And you can put your additives or whatever you want in there. Let's get some pitch black in there too. Let's get it dark. Okay.
Wow.
I've got a piece of the felt. And I'm just going to move that around on my transparency. Okay, so now I want that to, you know, kind of dry a little bit. I'm going to hit it briefly with the heat tool just to make sure it's kind of getting there. And then let me grab a stamp. Let's see, what do I have? What do I have out here? Let me grab one real quick. Okay, so here's a stamp. This time I'm gonna use the black archival. I'm just gonna ink this up. And I'm gonna put it on top of my transparency where the alcohol is and stamp. To help if I had a little bit of a squishy mat underneath there, but I don't. So there it is. It's stamped. And then I'm just going to take my paper towel. I'm going to blot it. And then I'm going to wipe gently. So now I'll get a piece of paper. Now you can see the image. And this is a pretty delicate image, you know. You guys see that okay?
Yeah. That's cool.
Okay. So that's how you get that type of effect on an acetate piece. See if we got any questions. Okay, Maria, sorry, we'll catch you later. Yeah, it's kind of a quirky show today. So sorry.
We're pretty much done now.
Sybil's shoveling the car out. Yep. It's about over, folks. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for helping us figure out some of these technical problems. And hopefully we'll have a better time next time.
This is all the stuff I got done today.
Holly, Yupo is a synthetic paper.
Yeah, kind of like a plastic.
Yeah.
You can watercolor.
It's not coated. It is a synthetic paper.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get chrome coat and matte coat papers. Those are coated papers, and you can play with those too because they're fun to play with. But I mean, just use what you have. You know, this stuff is stuff that my husband brought home from garage sales. So anyway, we're thankful that you guys were here with us today. Hope you enjoyed this, even though we had some difficult times, but you know, we'll get them worked out eventually.
I'm not sure how we're going to work them out, but we'll try.
Yeah, hopefully YouTube gets their act together, you know. We'll see.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. And we'll see you. Oh, wait. Next week, for those of us still listening, next week we're going to be on Wednesday instead of Thursday.
Yep.
And I don't know what we're doing.
So
you'll see your notification as long as you have your notification bells on. And be sure to go down and give this a thumbs up and leave a comment so that that helps YouTube find us. And that's it for us. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks. See you next time.